Okay, welcome everyone to this segment. And for those of you I've not had the pleasure to meet, I'm Cheryl Cortese. I've been with the Juice Plus Company now for 34 years as of January the 1st. So the adventure is not only wonderful, but it continues to get better all the time. I feel like we're very blessed in so many ways to be where we are and who we're with and the community that we have. And talking about that community, all of you know we've also had a Monday night call now for, I guess we're 32, close to 33 years, maybe, never missing a Monday night. And so that's, of course, great tribute to all of you here and throughout the organization. But we've been very blessed to have great speakers that come to us, really offering their time, their energy, their information, their inspiration, just out of the goodness of their heart. And somebody that I've always admired so much in our business that's always has great things to say is going to share with you tonight. He was actually on a Monday night call a few weeks ago, but we had technical difficulties. And so he's been generous enough to come back and do this for us again. So we'll record. And I would like to introduce to all of you our special speaker tonight, which is David Beavers. He is a Presidential Marketing Director Plus. And so every story begins somewhere, and David's began in Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised in the city, with time also spent on the family farm. He thrived in academics as well as athletics. David went on to graduate from Vanderbilt University, Dallas Theological Seminary, and continued postgraduate studies at Columbia Theological Seminary. For over 30 years, David has been a leader and corporate trainer with the Juice Plus Company, working with hundreds of men and women across America. David definitely has the heart of a teacher and the inspiration of a teacher, and he invests his days coaching and mentoring people in their personal and professional growth. So he's going to share with you tonight for all of his business achievements. He also, I think, has this that he talks about, and we talk about often. His highlight in his story is relationship with his wife, Sally, who I love as well. A lifelong Tennessean, and before her retirement as a teacher at Nashville's Oak Hill School, Sally and David were married in 1996, and together they have 6 children and 19 grandchildren. So tonight he's going to talk to you about if you will grow, your business will grow. Insights on how personal development impacts your own life as well as those around you. So David, I turn it to you.
Cheryl, golly, I came on early. I thought I was going to come on at 7:30 so Central Time, and I got to listen to all these great stories. I just never get enough of them. It's so beautiful. And thank you for inviting me to come back and speak with you tonight. I guess
we're honored, and I thank you for doing it.
Yeah, it's just always, isn't it? You know, you and I can say this because I've been February 5th marks 34 years for me.
Yep. So,
when I started. I didn't have quite the start that you did, but I'm really kind of wrestling right now with how much of my story and how much about personal development. Maybe I can just weave it in together. And what do I have time-wise? You've
got 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever you need.
Oh, good. Well, then you said that to the wrong person. You know, I'm an ex-preacher. You know, when a preacher takes his watch off, people say, what does it mean when he takes his watch off in the pulpit? And what you find out, it means absolutely nothing. He's not paying attention to it. But thank you all for having me. It's just an honor, and more than ever, hearing these stories. And Tanya, congratulations on your being cancer-free. So tremendous. One of the things that sort of us stumbled over growing up, I lost my mom to cancer when I was 14. And that marked me for life. And I didn't think much about it at the time in terms of nutrition. She'd been sick about 4 years. But, looking back, it does occur to me, as some of you shared, and I can't remember all the names, but I know someone shared about losing your husband. And I know how much it marked my father to lose his wife as he did. And that was just tremendous memory. And I somehow, when I joined this business, and then a few years later, when Juice Plus came out, I sort of did a flashback, and I started thinking, maybe there was something I didn't get growing up about nutrition. And I've always wondered, what if, a lot of what ifs about if we had, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and the basic food groups were fried chicken, mashed potatoes, iced tea, and biscuits, kind of that was our food for the day. So it's been a great journey for me to be a part of this business. Even when I came into the business, my background is not business at all. I did a lot of marriage and family counseling. I was an associate pastor in a couple of churches. And I love to teach and I love people, but as far as being in business and selling something was way, way, way out of my understanding of who I thought I was. Well, let me get back to the topic that I'm on tonight, and that is personal development. It's my favorite subject. I believe we do everything from the inside out, but we got to do the outside too. We got to do the inner work and we've got to do the outer work. But for our purposes tonight, in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about personal development. And I'm going to talk about it from my own experience as I built the business, how that kind of interfaced, how your own personal growth and the doing the business kind of work together. So let me start by giving you a definition of personal development. And it's not the only definition. And there's certainly experts around the world. Someone mentioned Tony Robinson. I mean, wow, let's talk about personal development. I take a little different tack than say Tony and some of the others, but they all work together. But here's a working definition, and I'll read it. I'll read this slowly for you. It's a lifelong journey of self-transformation that lasts a lifetime, and it affects the total person, one's character, lifestyle, maturity, relationships, and contribution. Personal development is about becoming who you deep down really are, and finally accepting, somewhere along that journey, finally accepting and loving that person just as she is. So let me read it quickly through again in case you were trying to write it down. It's a lifelong journey of self-transformation that affects the total person, character, lifestyle, maturity, relationships, contribution. It's about becoming who you deep down really are. And I'll share at the end about finally accepting and loving the person that he or she really is. And it can happen in a lot of ways, and it's different for every person. As I said, I'm going to kind of share from my own experience what I found is Juice Plus. When I refer to Juice Plus, I'm referring to everything about Juice Plus. I'm referring to the products, the amazing products, the company, the corporate culture, our organizations, the communities we live in and grow in today. So when I say Juice Plus is a vehicle, it's a track, it's a platform where this process of growth and personal transformation is fueled and fed and encouraged every day. So I developed a little phrase to go along with that several years ago. And it goes like this: Juice Plus is a course in personal development, cleverly disguised as a business. Oh, it's definitely a business. But the sort of the hidden nugget is that as you do the business day in, day out, something happens to you. You grow, you mature, you expand, you see things differently. It's all very subtle, but you wake up one day and say, look who I have become. It's a miracle. Now, let me give you an image of this. I want to give you a little image of how this looks like and what it feels like. I imagine some of you are like me. I discovered maybe 30 years ago the importance of keeping a personal journal. I have a bunch of ledgers with years and years of journals. And so here's the image, is that you discover a journal that you wrote in 5, 10, 20 years ago, perhaps. And you read it, this journal that you wrote in December 20 years ago. And you say, oh my, the things I worried about, the things that stressed me, the things that I thought were so important, the things that I prayed about. You can see how that would just be a mind-blowing thing. And that happens to me sometimes when I get the courage and go back and read some of them. But here's another way of looking at this. And this is about transformation and personal development. What if the you who wrote, if the you who wrote those things could see the you that you have become 10 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later? Let me say it again. If the you who wrote those things could see the you that you had become 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, you'd faint. You'd faint. You wouldn't believe it. Because we're a work in progress. Now we think we have it figured out. And so we figure if I do this, this, and this for 4 or 5 years, and some of, the stories you've given tonight exemplify the fact that, you talk about the joy of being in the business and discovering Juice Plus and the health journey and so forth. But all of you would say is, while I'm on this journey of personal growth and personal development, there's so many things you would say, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming. And that's hard. That's kind of hard to take, because we all work so hard to get it all figured out. And every once in a while we have an epiphany. We realize that we don't really have a clue. That's part of the aha moments on this journey. So we're on this journey together. We're trying to not make too many mistakes. We're going to get it right this time. And we stumble and we look back and we discover that the biggest and deepest lessons in our lives come not from our successes, but from our stumbling and our failing and our mistakes and all the slippage and stupid mistakes, all those humbling moments. They open us up and they reveal things that we weren't expecting to learn. So the process called personal development or growth, this journey, this path is not a clear and easy, smooth growth. It's hard, and it's hard. It's hard because, and the business exposes this. So I'm going to mention this in a second. I'm going to get to the business in just a second. I'm giving this introduction. It's hard because it's hard to give up the control we think we have over the life that we think we're living. And what happens really is that we just get broken open in the process. And we either despair or we go deeper. We either blame our circumstances or we get vulnerable and we get really teachable. So that's kind of the way I understand personal development. What I really want you to do is kind of get I want to give you another image. And this is going to be the sort of a fast and furious overview of the process of personal development, my experience, my journey, and maybe you can find yourself inside some of those things. Think of this image now, 3 concentric circles. Let me mention too that these 3 concentric circles, we're going to kind of work our way from the outside in, kind of start from the outer circle and work our way in. I have in my backyard, it used to be a potting shed. It's a pretty nice shed, but I converted it a couple of years ago into a real kind of a second office. I call it my shed, but I put nice barn board in it. You can see the virtual background. This is it right here. This is inside of my shed. And I got heating and air in it. And, but I don't take technology in there. So I can get away from technology. It's a real quiet, good place for silence and solitude. And on that wall in there, I had this plaque that a friend of mine painted for me that, of course, sort of puts together these 3 concentric circles, but actually it's sort of a mantra for my life. And there are 3 phrases, and I'm going to go walk through them with you quickly tonight. They kind of capture my philosophy of personal development, my philosophy of the spiritual life, if you will, and relationships. And it goes like this: stay open, pay attention, let go. Stay open, pay attention, let go. So the first of those concentric circles is that first phase. I call it stay open, but it, in terms of the business and how you begin to develop in the business, I'm calling it a stage of competency. And I heard it tonight as y'all were sharing your stories, because in that first phase of your life and your business and your personal development, you're developing new skills. You're developing new habits. You're trying to become consistent. You're trying to cultivate the heart of a student. Stage 1 is about the fundamentals of the business. The fundamentals, a few simple things. One of my mentors, and I know Cheryl loved him very much. He's the late, great Jim Rohn, said, you know, to be successful in this business, you don't have to do extraordinary things. You just have to do a few simple things extraordinarily well. Just a few things. The big one is telling your story. Telling your story. Planting seeds of hope in other people. That's what your story does. It's not selling. It's not giving out information. It's telling a story that plants hope. And when we talk about bridging the gap with your story, your story helps people see how they can get to where they are and where they want to be, whether it's their health or their finances. That's what a story does. So you're going to, in this early stage, staying open, you've got to be really teachable in this early going. It's almost like an apprentice. When someone starts this business, they've got to understand that the first 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, who knows how long it happens, but there's a period of apprenticeship where you learn the fundamentals. You get good at telling your story. I remember when I first got started, my sponsor, whom Cheryl knows and loves, Jackie Beavers, my sister-in-law, she knew I wasn't much for getting out there. I was more accustomed to people coming to me for advice and counsel, but for me to get out there, it's a little different. So one day she called, she said, how's it going? I said, it's going great. What are you doing? Well, I'm organizing my files. I'm getting my list made and so forth. I'm getting organized. And she said, okay. Here's what I'd like for you to do. Call 20 people. Can you call 20 people? I said, well, I can do that probably. I said, what, this month? She said, no, today. Call 20 people this afternoon. I'll call you back in 3 hours. Tell me how it went. I'll never forget that. It's like, first of all, I said a few things under my breath that I can't repeat here. But then I said, okay, I'll do that, because I was so teachable. I was so open. I was so receptive. And that started my journey of learning the basics. And what are they? It's talking to people, engaging people, conversations. Nothing happens until we have conversations. Nothing happens. And that's what I did. Also, and I wasn't very good at the beginning, but I got better. I got better as I did it. And I got good at the basics. I wasn't good at the beginning at all. Ralph Waldo Emerson says that which we persist in doing becomes easier, not because the nature of the task has changed, but our ability to do it has increased. So what if I asked some of you on the call tonight? I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to call me tomorrow at noon, or say 4 o'clock. I'll give you a whole day. Call 20 people. Contact 20 people. Initiate conversation with 20 people. It's humbling. It's humbling. But that's what we do. And that breaks us open. That's the early stage. It breaks us open. And so we got to stay open. We got to stay teachable, because your teachableness is your capacity for personal growth. If you're not teachable, you're not going to grow. If you're not going to grow, your business isn't going to grow, because you won't get the basics. You won't learn the fundamentals. So you either despair when people look at you funny or wonder if you're doing one of those things, or they say, I'm taking vitamins already. You can despair or you can go deeper. And here's how you go deeper. You ask for help. You humble yourself. You ask for help. Second concentric circle, working our way in, is pay attention. Pay attention. This is when you take ownership of your life and your business. It's when you wake up. You take ownership. In phase one, you're sort of building a business. Now maybe you're sort of waked up, awakened, is that the right word? And you want to build a team. And you've learned the basics, you're good, you're getting a customer base, you're learning these things, and you're open, you're teachable. Now you got to take ownership. It's about your commitment. It's about your choices. It's about decisions you make. And really, this is when you discover you get to decide what you want from this business. You make decisions about your health. Now, there are two areas here real quickly, and I'm going to finish this and then touch briefly on the third one, because the third one is a whole night together. But for me, when I learned to pay attention by focusing on two things: having written goals and understanding what leadership is. And I can only touch on these briefly, but here's the way I would approach it. I had to learn to set goals. I had to learn to have a vision, to decide what I wanted. I had to understand the numbers and get a vision and put things on paper. And when you set goals, when you get specific about what you want, it tells your brain what to pay attention to. That's what goals do. Goals simply tell your brain what to pay attention to. Otherwise, you're all over the place. And if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. The goals are scary because when you set goals, you're saying yes to these 4 things and no to these 47 things. Goals are not about adding things to your life. They're about subtracting things from your life. They're about sorting through and sifting your priorities so that you really have to focus on what it is you want to accomplish. You can't do everything. You can't have everything. You have to decide. And the other thing you learn about goals in this process is that, and I've been doing this for 34 years, and man, what has happened to me in terms of my personal life, my relationship with Sally, my children, coming from a place of I was broke. I was broken. Went through a divorce, marriage and family counselor, pastor. I was just broken and full of shame. And I had to work through those things. And this business became a vehicle where I could focus on a few simple things and grow myself up, get out of debt, rebuild relationships with my children. All those things took place because I was involved in this community. So goals are important. But the second thing was about leadership, which leads comes out of goals. And that is, man, I've been in the business 5 or 6 years, Cheryl. I mean, longer. I remember coming in 1988 and seeing you at a Juice Plus conference in New Orleans. I was as green could be. And wow, I thought I could do what she does. That'd be wonderful. But here's what had happened after 5 or 6 years of the business. I had made national marketing director, but my organization was weak. It was limping along. In fact, it was shrinking. And that's when I had to really either despair or go deeper. And by going deeper, I had to get help and figure out what I had to do to build a stronger, deeper, more productive organization. Here's what I did. The first thing I discovered was, what is leadership? Because I'm a doer. I work hard. But I discovered that a leader is someone who knows where he's going and is able to persuade others to come along with him. I had my goals, but I didn't know how to impart that to other people. It was about me. And so I learned that leadership is more about not what I do, but what others are doing as a result of what I do. And I think coming from a counseling, maybe a pastoral background, I had a tendency to work with people who really needed my help, but who weren't willing to work and do what I felt like had to happen for them to deserve my time. So I had to make a fundamental shift and risk being misunderstood and choose more carefully with whom I work. And I changed my approach to working with people who were willing to work, who were teachable. It changed everything. The first 5 years in the business, I made national marketing director, no leadership. I changed, and the next 5 years, I promoted out 11 new national marketing directors because I got this concept. A leader is someone with a compass in his head. He knows where he's going, and a magnet in his heart. He attracts people with his own vision and because of who he has become. And that changed everything. Now my organization is just, I'm just blessed. When you talk about those who came along, I can't take credit for any of them, but there are people like Terry Luongo and Jamie Cantrell and Holly Morris and Kathy Crockett, and it list goes on and on. The people I got to work with. And of course, some of you remember the great Elsa Billman. So that's what happened when I decided to pay attention to my business and grow up as a leader. Third one is let go. And quickly, I'll just mention most of you will be focusing maybe for the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years on these first two stages. And then you never leave one stage. You never leave stage one. You're always working on the fundamentals. You're always being teachable. You're always developing more as a leader. But this third one is really important because it's going to come for most of you if you stay with it. And it's about doing some deep inner work. It's about understanding deep listening and mentoring. This is the mentoring stage. Mentoring people, deep listening. I just ran across this quote today by Stephen Covey. This kind of represents what's happening in this stage of your personal development and in your personal life. This means the world to me. Stephen Covey says, the real beginning of influence comes as others sense you are being influenced by them. When they feel understood by you, that you have listened deeply and sincerely, and that you are open. There's that openness again. Not only openness in terms of learning and being a student of the business, but open and listening to someone on your team, in your neighborhood, in your family, your child, your husband, your grandchild. And without any agenda, you're just there. And you become a safe person who can mentor and coach and care for someone. And I would, that includes yourself. That includes listening deeply to yourself every day. That's what my shed is for. It's for my rendezvous with myself in the presence of God. Deep listening, solitude, because if I can't listen to myself and listen to my heart, it's hard for me to be present and safe and open with other people. This is personal development. And let me tell you, this is where the rubber meets the road in this business, that deep listening, being a safe place for people. It's important. So here's what we do. This is a mentor, and some of you are already doing this. You don't have to be in the business 34 years to do this. You can do it your first year, but understand these phases. Stay open, pay attention, let go. You go from competency to ownership, building a business to building a team to building a community, building a culture. I call this a culture of encouragement. In my own mission statement, if I were to have one, it would go something like this, and I'll close with this. That is that as leaders, as partners in Juice Plus, we get to build a community where people get to do what they love, where people get to do what they love with the people they love and for the people they love. And on the way, hopefully, we learn to love ourselves too. That's the process. It never ends. It's a lifelong self-transformation. And I'm inviting all of you, most of you, that hearing your stories earlier convinced me, boy, this is, you're in the culture. You've got it. Y'all got the real disease. Y'all are the real thing. Thank you, Cheryl. It's great to be with you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. And you know how blessed I am. David and I have kind of run alongside each other for 34 years, and just an amazing, amazing experience. And
Yeah.
For all of us, it is the joy of growing together.
Mhm.
And really, we all learn from each other all the time, every day.
Yep.
Every time I hear David, I hear something new. And for so many of you, I mean, whether you've been here for a short time or you've been here for really many years, we all continue to evolve and learn from each other. So great thanks to you again for taking your time tonight.
You're very welcome.
And really want to wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful, happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, as we'll be meeting after that. So, you know, this is a very special time for all of us because we get to see and be around people we love and care about within our lives. So make sure that they're hearing your story and you're collecting stories. I think that's another wonderful thing. Is to not only give the gift of good health and prosperity, but to listen to people as well, because I think they need it and they need to hear what you have to say. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Let's
Christmas
come back
night.
together again, ready to just capture next year like never before, because it's going to be an amazing year. So, David, thank you so much, and Carol, thank you, and I guess we're back to you now.
Thanks, David.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Cheryl. Merry Christmas, guys. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Oh, same to you.
Merry
Thank
Christmas,
you
Happy New
so
Year.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Uh,
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye,
Have a wonderful
everybody.
night.
Thank you so much.